You're listening to True Voice Shorts from True Voice Productions, where we empower your story with voice. Each episode brings you a story of insight, wonder, or truth delivered in 30 minutes or less. This is part of our Memories of Ink series, where we explore the traces we leave behind, memoirs, poetry, and reflections passed from generation to generation. Today's story, Life as It Is, More or Less, is a collection of essays on life, labor, and laughter by Fanny Fern. Sarah Payson Willis, best known by her pen name Fanny Fern, was one of the most popular and groundbreaking American writers of the 19th century. Born in 1811, she rose to prominence not through poetry or movies, but through essays and newspaper columns, a form she mastered with sharp wit, keen observation, and a boldness unusual for her time. Fanny Fern's writing career began in earnest in the 1850s when, faced with a personal hardship and financial need, she turned to journalism. Her essays were published weekly and quickly gained attention for their humor, honesty, and refusal to accept the narrow expectations placed on women. At a time when few women could sustain a public literary career, Fern not only succeeded, she thrived. She became the highest-paid newspaper columnist of her day and a household name. Her essays covered a wide range of topics: the frustrations of domestic life, the absurdities of societal norms, the importance of education, and the independence of women. What makes her work enduring is its tone. Fiercely independent, but never preachy. Playful, yet cutting when needed. She used humor and everyday observations to slip radical ideas into the public conversation. She challenged her readers to think differently about the roles women could and should play. The selected essays you're about to hear capture Fanny Fern's distinctive voice. They reveal a woman who was not content to observe the world quietly from the sidelines, but instead on entering the fray, laughing, questioning, and illuminating as she went. Though over a century and a half has passed, her words still sparkle and refresh with insight. They remind us that the sharpest pens often leave the deepest marks. Today we bring her voice back to life, lively, fearless, and every bit as relevant as when she first set it down in ink. Aunt Hetty on Matrimony. Young ladies, when you are beset with lovers and are perplexed to decide which of them you will take, I want you to sit down and think seriously over matrimony in the abstract. Picture to yourself a man, a husband, smoking his cigar in your parlor with his boots upon the best sofa, or monopolizing the morning paper while you were waiting to see the death notice of a friend, or reading the last bit of political news when you were wanting to consult him about the rent, the water tax, or Johnny's shoes. Fancy him calling for his clean shirt in a voice that would make the fortunes of a town crier, or waking you from your first sleep snoring like a cavern in the mountains. Think how he will sit down to the table in his shirt sleeves and wipe his knife on the tablecloth and carve a chicken with a case knife, and how he will reprove you for extravagance in buttering your toast 3 inches thick, or for cutting pies in quarters instead of eighths, and how you will see your best white chamber spread in a pile on the floor for a baby's bed, or your best looking glass appropriated to try flour on a newly oiled harness. Picture to yourself a baby, a cross baby, that keeps you from sleeping for nights and won't take soothing syrup and is cutting double teeth. Think of the washing day, a rainy day most likely, and the clothes will be hung all over the house in dampness and discomfort, and the baby will fall into the tub just as you sit down to rest. Think of the servant girl who lets your baby's milk burn while she sets the table with the black handle of the coffee pot towards the wrong side. and think how you must jump up and catch Johnny from tumbling downstairs, just as you were taking a little nap after dinner, and how you must drag your weary feet around with an everlasting "what shall I have for supper" tormenting your brain, and how your husband will come home cross as a bear because the stocks have fallen or the market has gone down and will abuse you for what you can't help. Picture to yourself all this and 1,000 other annoyances too numerous to mention, and if you can make up your mind after that to marry, do. From the satirical view of marriage, Fanny Fern shifts her gaze to a more serious matter, the daily struggles and quiet strength of working women. The Working Girls of New York. The working girls of New York. I honor them. I take off my hat when I pass them in the street. I pay tribute to the intelligence that sends them on errands of business and the courage that takes them to fight the battle of life, unaided in the great Babylon. There is something particularly touching in the sight of a young girl, delicately nurtured, forced by the exigencies of life to maintain herself by her own exertions. The struggle is fearful. It is fearful to walk down the street in thin, worn shoes, to buy the poorest food, to wear thread-borne dresses, to see young and gay people about you and feel you have no place among them, to be shut out from the concerts and lectures, to see the holidays pass and you have no part in their festivities, to feel that your youth is passing without pleasure and your womanhood without love. It is fearful to sit all day stitching away with weary head and heavier heart, or to stand behind counters hour after hour, parched with thirst and faint with weariness. It is fearful to see those who were once friends pass you by without a nod, to find yourself aging before your time, without the sweet memories of childhood and girlhood to cheer you onward. Oh, it is fearful. And yet, there are hundreds of brave girls doing this daily in New York. Girls whose tender, delicate hands were never meant for toil, who were patiently, heroically doing their duty. God bless them. I would rather be the poorest of them earning my scanty bread with honest labor than the proudest fine lady who plumes herself on her fashionable idleness. Having walked through the hard streets of labor, Fern returns with a wink, turning once more to the domestic world and what it promises versus what it delivers. The Model Husband. The model husband never stays at the club until the gas is put out, nor plays billiards till sunrise. He never drinks anything stronger than water, except when he has a cold, and then he uses the mildest remedies. He always buys his wife the prettiest bonnets and cloaks, and takes as much interest in selecting them as he does in choosing his own boots. He is never out of temper, never complains of the dinners, nor scolds the servants. He always likes the society that his wife likes, and never stays in the smoking room when she wants to walk or drive. He reads her favorite books with her, and listens patiently to the most tedious stories. He is never tired or cross, and always ready to talk over the household affairs. He never smokes a cigar in the house, and never lounges in his dressing gown and slippers when visitors are expected. He is always ready with his advice and his purse, but never gives advice unless asked. He never forgets birthdays or anniversaries, and is always ready to compliment his wife on her dress and appearance. In short, He is perfect, a perfect husband. But, unfortunately, he is dead. But home life, as Fern knew well, held its own set of trials. Next is a glimpse into the daily reveries and quiet rebellions of a housekeeper. Soliloquy of a housekeeper. There's no use talking. Housekeeping is the drudgeries of drudgeries. Let those who can find poetry in a washtub or inspiration in a dustpan. For my part, I hate such affectations. I never see a fat kitchen maid paring potatoes or shelling peas that I don't envy her independence. Why is it that a woman's sphere must be bounded by saucepans and pudding pans? Why is it that her time must be frittered away in sweeping and dusting and preserving and pickling and fussing and fretting about trifles? Trifles too small to name. It is very odd that a woman may be president of a sewing circle, directress of a Sunday school, or edit a magazine and still be respectable. But let her declare that she is weary of patching and mending and pickling and preserving, and she is set down as strong-minded and forthwith tabooed. And pray, what becomes a woman's sphere when her husband dies, and she must now don the unfeminine harness and go out into the world and earn her bread? Oh, yes, I know. Women's mission is to be gentle, amiable, affectionate, confiding, and dependent. Depend upon what, I should like to know? Upon the pocketbooks of their husbands, brothers, and fathers, who, if they are poor or mean, expect them to get along on the smallest possible pittance and call them extravagant if they can't make $1 do the work of 10. Dear me, I get no sympathy. I pour my pliant into the hollow ear of the kitchen tea kettle, which returns me only a sputter. I wander through the rooms of the house in search of a responsive soul and find none. I sit down and I take a piece of work and drop the needle 20 times to the floor and get up and try to read. My eye wanders up to the wall and down to the floor, over to the open window and out upon the dusty road. It is of no use. I drop the book and fall to wonder how many times in my life have I picked up and dropped that same book. At this crisis, my youngest butts into the room with a cracked pitcher in one hand and a skinned nose held aloft in the other. The tears of penitence are streaming down his cheeks, and he is half piteous, half defiant. There is no use scolding. I have been young myself. I take the pitcher, glue it together as best I may, kiss the little fellow and let him go. Next comes Bridget to say there's no flour, no butter, and no milk. Of course not. The baker has forgotten the bread. The butcher has sent tough beef. The grocer has made out a wrong bill. The washing machine has not come home. The ironing has not been done. The stove is out of order. And the cat has kittens in the best bed. Dear me, who would be a housekeeper? The children come flocking in from school, each one with a special grievance. One has lost his dinner basket. Another has a torn jacket. A third has broken his slate. A fourth has exchanged knives with a bad boy and wants his own back again. Bridget wants to go out. The doorbell rings furiously. Ah, there's company. The carpet looks as if it never saw a broom, and my head feels as if it has been split open. Company gone. Children to bed. Lamp out. House still at last. I look up to the stars. They are so high, so pure, so far away from all this petty toil and care. And yet, God help me, I love it all. I would not change it if I could. There is not one of these little vexations I would have missed. Even as I sigh, I smile. For every scolding I have given, I had a kiss 10 times as sweet. For every tear I have shed, I have had a laugh that has rung 10 times as clear. For every cross moment, I have had an hour of sunshine. No, I would not change it. I fold my work away with a smile, and when I lay down to rest, the last thing I see is the twinkling stars, and the last thing I feel is a pulse of a mother's love. And while housework filled the days, Fern also had sharp words for another arena where women were too often dismissed, the world of books and critics. Male criticism on ladies' books. It is rather amusing to hear a parcel of learned old fossils who without a doubt write uncommonly credible books on flora, fishes, snakes, or bugs, gravely discussing the work of female fiction. One gentleman assures you, "It is very good, very credible indeed, considering the sex of the writer." Another is very sure that the heroine is the author herself. It is always so with ladies' books. A third is quite certain that no woman could have written such a book unaided. It is doubtless the work of her husband, brother, or cousin. A fourth, equally complimentary, is very much surprised to find so much power and strength in a female writer. Another is of the opinion that the principal male character is unnatural. No man ever talked or acted like that, when probably it is the exact portrait of himself, drawn by female eyes and with no friendly hand. Another infers from the smallest shadow of sarcasm that the writer has been crossed in love and is soured. Another recommends marriage as a remedy for all literary ambition. Another would have her adopt a more womanly and more becoming tone. Another is sorry to see a woman so far forget her sex as to think independently. Now, I would humbly suggest to these very considerate critics that women have quite as good a right to draw men from a woman's standpoint as men have to draw women from the man's standpoint. I would like to ask, why is it more natural for a woman to portray herself in the heroine of her novels than for a man to portray himself in the hero of his? I would like to inquire, why, if a woman writer is humorous, she is set down as sour and unmarriageable, and if witty, unfeminine? I would like to ask if a woman has not the right to think independently, and if so, whether it would be more womanly to suppress her opinion than to express them. Why is it that we never hear of a manly book, though there are plenty of coarse and indelicate ones? Why do men never praise the womanly purity of one of their own sex in their own line? Why do they never, by any accident, accuse each other of writing themselves up and their wives down, as they invariably do women writers? Is it not possible that a woman may write a good book without the help of her husband, father, or uncle? Is it not possible that she may portray a man as he looks to her without having it put down to her conceited, unmarried ignorance? Why can't a man accept a woman's opinion about him with the same complacency he expects from her in regard to his opinion about her? Now, good friends, when you can satisfactorily answer all these questions, I will agree there is a particle of sense in your criticisms of ladies' books. Until then, suppose you hold your tongue. Fern's essays remind us that beneath humor often lies hard truth about freedom, about work, about love. Her sharp observations still speak to us today, a testament to how much and how little the world has changed. From the trials of authorship, Fern moves to another kind of social pretense, the pride some take in lineage rather than in character. The Family Tree. It is astonishing how we Americans idolize a family tree. With what pride we trace our lineage back to the old stock, even if the old stock was not much to boast of, even if they were no better than a very indifferent set of vagabonds. We cherish the memory of them and plume ourselves accordingly. It is amusing to see a man whose great-great-grandfather, perhaps, was a respectable bootblack or bell ringer, assume airs because, in the course of time, the family got rubbed up and varnished into gentility. After all, it is a poor thing to pride oneself on ancestors. Let a man or woman be something worth talking of themselves. What boots it to me if my ancestors were noble and brave, if I am weak and ignoble? Their deeds cannot guile my follies, nor their virtues sanctify my sins. And what is ancestry but a birth accident which entitles us to neither honor nor shame? Shall I value a man because his progenitor fought with Richard Coeur de Lion, or despise him because his forefather rode in the same wagon with the first settler of Plymouth? Nay, but what the man is himself, that is the question. The world, after all, measures us by our present worth. It is not, what did his ancestors do, but what can he do? A man may have a royal pedigree and yet be a simpleton. Another may have been born in a log cabin and rise to greatness by his own strong hand and clear brain. The sooner we cease prating about what our forefathers were and attend to the business of making something honorable of ourselves, the better. For after all, no man is responsible for his ancestors. He is, however, responsible for himself. Family pride is a good thing in moderation. It is well enough to honor the virtues of those who went before us, but it is sheer folly to be forever dinning their praises into other people's ears, to claim credit for their achievements, and to draw a veil over our own deficiencies. In this country, where every man is the architect of his own fortune, family trees are of small account. Here it is what a man is, not what his grandfather was, that settles his position and fixes his worth. Let us remember that. Family isn't just legacy, it's baggage. Finally, Fern invites us to a quieter place, the thoughtful solitude of a bachelor's life, imagined with her usual blend of insight and humor. Reveries of a Bachelor. A bachelor's life, if not the most eventful, is often the most peaceful. No thrilling delights, perhaps, but no heartaches either. None of that wearing excitement which renders one so weary of the world at 40. No disputes about dress or diamonds, no sighs over fading complexion, no lovers' quarrels, desperate making up, jealousy, tears, and vexations. No incorrigible laundresses, extravagant milliners or tailors, no meddling brothers-in-law or scandal-loving sisters-in-law, no rambunctious children tearing the house down, no fretful babies crying the night away. The bachelor has a cozy home, modest perhaps, but neat and orderly, where books, papers, and slippers lie quietly just where he left them. He comes in when he likes, dines when he likes, sups when he likes, and retires to his couch, or not, just as the mood may seize him. He rises without dread of being called to account for it. Breakfast is ready when he is, and he is as much master of his time as though no woman's whims ever existed. He reads his paper undisturbed, makes his notes, writes his letters, plans his little excursions, and indulges in his cigar in peace. He comes and goes at will. If he is weary, there is nobody to question him. If he is ill, he may be petulant without reproach. But let us not paint the picture too brightly. There are hours, despite all, when even the bachelor feels a void. There are long evenings when the fire burns low and no cheery voice breaks the silence. There are anniversaries he would fain forget, old friends drop off one by one, and familiar faces fade from his path. There's no one to whisper a comforting word in his ear, no little pattering feet to welcome him home. No smiling face looks out the window for his coming. No gentle hand soothes his brow in sickness. No light, loving step moves softly about his room. Life's evening falls cold and lonely. Shadows gather, and no warm hearth glow lights the gloom. Then it is that he sometimes thinks with a sigh of what might have been. But he is brave and silent. He tightens the cloak around his heart and walks on. After all, a bachelor's life is not to be pitied. It has its compensations, its quiet comforts, its independence and peace. It is a life free from entanglements, full of books and dreams, and not without its share of happiness. Thus muses the bachelor in the twilight of his solitary room, content with his lot, yet not insensible to its solitude. And when he lays aside his pen and looks around on the walls where no portraits of wife or child smile down on him, he may feel a pang. But it is fleeting, and he blesses his bachelor fate once more. For after all, there is a satisfaction in living for oneself, in knowing that the quiet evening, the book, the firelight, and the silence are all his own, unshared, untroubled, undisturbed. It is a little world, but it is a peaceful one. And so he dreams on through the tranquil years, asking no favors, carving no affections he has missed, taking what the gods have given and thanking them that in a restless world he has found rest. Across humor, hardship, and hope, Fanny Fern captured the contradictions of her world, sharp, tender, and unflinchingly honest. Her voice reminds us that even in the quiet corners of life, there are stories worth hearing, stories that still echo across time with laughter and wisdom and grace. This is Life as It Is, more or less, by Fanny Fern.